$133,000 that you would have paid that company on an amount of $500,000 over 7 years. Welcome back to our series on annuities. Today, we're going to be going over another one of the ugly attributes of annuities, and specifically variable annuities: high fees. What percentage are you paying in fees? But more importantly, how much money does that percentage actually equate to? And if you want to make sure that you can find out exactly how much in dollars that you're paying on your variable annuity fees, make sure to tune in to the end where we go through that, okay? So let me share the screen here real quick, and we'll go ahead and jump in. If we dig into the prospectus that I talked about, we can total up the costs involved. So let's start taking a look. The product has something called investment fees. Like the variable annuities always have some type of mutual funds inside of it, right? And those funds include investment fees to invest in it. So now those fees can range in this particular one anywhere from just over 0.5% to 2.16%, right? And that's pretty high for a mutual fund cost. Then the product also has something called a mortality and expense charge. Mortality and expense, or M&E, as you might sometimes hear it called. What the heck is that, right? A mortality and expense risk charge is a fee the variable annuity company imposes on you to compensate or pay them for two things. First, any losses they might suffer in the result of unexpected events, such as early death of the policyholder. And second, the administrative expenses that they have tied up in things like sending you statements every single year. Then there are maybe income riders that are available on the variable annuity. Now, what income riders do is guarantee that the product will pay out some amount of income for some period of time, anywhere from a set number of years all the way to your entire lifetime, right? And those riders on this product run you from just over 0.5% or 1.5%. And these all are adding up, right? So next we have a possible death benefit rider. Those, actually, they're just what their name implies, right? They provide an added benefit at your death to the beneficiaries, your loved ones. And depending on the level of rider you want, just over 1/3% up to a full percent for those. Now, this variable annuity actually happens to be a 7-year surrender charge. And so this is talking about, I think, 4 right here. So if you'd like to buy that surrender period down and own a shorter term product, you can. You just pay another 0.4% to make it a 4-year surrender period, right? So that's you have to pay another fee if you want a smaller surrender period. So when you start adding all of those fees up, you're looking at anywhere from 3.13% to 6.41% in cost to own the product on an annual basis. Yeah, 3.13 to 6.41 on an annual basis. So 1,100-page prospectus and fees that could add up to 6.4%. It looks like variable annuities maybe are complex and maybe are expensive, but these fees show the high range, right? Well, what would an actual case look like? Well, we have seen several. And so let's look more plausible situation here, right? Let's hypothetical situation, more along the lines of a situation that we actually see. And we'll have a couple here that we're going to call them Tom and Linda. And let's look at the kind of real life costs that they could be paying. In this situation, they're actually paying blended investment fees of right at about 1%. They have the 1.3% in the mortality and expense charges that we talked about. They've tacked on an income rider for an additional 1% per year. They're paying 0.5% for a death benefit. They've selected, so all told, they're paying a combined about 3.8% there, guys. And so, just for discussion's sake, we're Tom and Linda. Imagine you're paying this 3.8% in fees, and when we call the company, and imagine you had even $500,000 invested into this account, right? So everybody with me so far on the numbers here. So now imagine that you've owned this policy since, say, 2013, making it 7 years since you've owned it. And if I asked, what you've paid this company to own this policy, and some of you, if you're looking at this slide, you just told us we paid 3.8%, right? But do you know what that means? Right? It's like that means that if you do the math, 3.8% on $500,000 is $19,000. And remember, you've owned this policy for 7 years. And so you don't pay that fee once, you pay this fee annually. And so if you've owned this for 7 years, you've paid $19,000 times 7 years. So what that is, right? 19,000, carry the one, $133,000 that you would have paid that company on an amount of $500,000 over 7 years. And so if you're sitting in my office, I'd have to break it to you and tell you that, old Whitney in customer service may have said you've been paying 3.8%, but $133,000 is more like 27% of $500,000. So unfortunately, this happens all too often because people simply don't understand what they own. So I think we've cemented the fact that variable annuities can be complex. I mean, we do this all the time. We look at somebody's situation who have annuities. We do look at what type of annuities they are to find out what type of fees they are paying. We do basically an annuity x-ray. So yeah, we've definitely said that they can be expensive. Before we move on from the ugly about the annuities, I want to ask a couple of, I guess, maybe hypothetical questions here. All right. If any of you go grocery shopping with your family, I assume you do, right? And so when you walk up and down the aisles, do you just toss things into the cart and head to the checkout to see what you owe? Or do you generally grab particular things and you've probably got a list and you probably buy the same things a lot, so you know roughly what you're paying, right? Well, if you're like me, if you're like my wife, you pretty much know what you're paying, right? And so we're the same way. I may not be the most frugal person that you've ever met. My wife would disagree, and she has another word for it, right? But whether it's groceries or, golf shirts or whatever, it's like I generally know what I'm paying for something. And what I found is most people are the same way, right? And we've been doing, financial planning now for a lot of years. And I've been doing webinars, maybe even live in-person seminars for a lot of years as well. And I found that most people are the same way. We don't just like to toss our money away. But, here's the deal. In a lot of these workshops, webinars that I've been doing over the years, I also know that north of 70% of every group I speak with generally owns at least one variable annuity by this stage in their life. And 9 times out of 10, when they come in to see us, those same people have no idea what they've actually been paying for them. And so some of anybody here may have grabbed one off the shelf, tossed it into a cart a decade ago. Some of you may have just grabbed one 3 or 4 years ago, all the while thinking you knew what you were paying for them. And what's wild, though, is that when you come in and see us and you actually let us scan your cart, scan your X or your annuity, what we find over and over is that you thought you were paying $3 or $3.50 for that variable annuity. But like Tom, you've been paying 7 or 8 times that. And I know nobody would do that if they would have known, because they're, you all are just not like those people, right? It's like what I found is you all like to know what you're paying for something. If you want us to scan your cart, if you have any of these variable annuities, if you want us to do an annuity x-ray and figure out what type of fees you're actually paying on these things, and if there's something possibly out there that could do better for you, then just let us know. Find a spot on our calendar and we'll be able to do that for you. Just say, yeah, I want you to scan my cart, basically, right? I want you to scan my cart. So hopefully your fees aren't too bad. Well, that pretty much covers the aspects of annuities that are ugly. Next week, we'll be going over some aspects of annuities that aren't ugly, but they aren't liked by a lot of annuity critics, like liquidity. And as always, if you want more confidence in your retirement, our calendar link, our contact information is in the description. And don't forget to smash the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you can be updated every single week when we bring out new content, because we're always trying to give you information to empower you to live the retirement that you deserve. So thanks for tuning in this week. Stay tuned for next week as well.